the illusion of a perfect evening. The knife in my hand moved with practiced precision, dicing onions into flawless, translucent cubes. The scent of garlic and rosemary filled the kitchen, mingling with the rich aroma of slow-cooked beef bourguignon, a recipe I'd spent years perfecting, just for nights like this. Tonight had to be perfect. Vanessa's entire family was coming over, her parents, her older sister Rachel, and her younger brother Mark. It had been months since they'd all been under our roof, and I knew how much this meant to her. At least I thought I did. I wiped my hands on my apron and checked the oven. The soufflé was rising beautifully, golden and airy. Just a few more minutes. Everything had to be flawless. "Babe," Vanessa's voice floated in from the living room, light and careless. "Do we have any more wine?" "Plenty," I called back, forcing cheer into my voice. "I'll open another bottle." I grabbed the corkscrew and a 2015 Cabernet Sauvignon, her father's favorite. The cork slid free with a soft pop, and I poured the deep red liquid into a decanter, letting it breathe. From the living room, laughter erupted, sharp, sudden, and just a little too loud. The kind of laughter that felt exclusive, like I was the punchline of a joke I wasn't in on. "Ignore it, you're imagining things," but the tightness in my chest disagreed. I needed air. "I'll be right back," I announced, though no one seemed to hear me over the chatter. The garage was cool and quiet, a sanctuary away from the forced smiles and hollow conversation. I pulled out a cigarette, a habit I'd quit years ago but still indulged in during moments of weakness. The flame flickered as I inhaled, the nicotine hitting my bloodstream like an old, bitter friend. And then I heard them, Vanessa and Rachel. Their voices carried through the cracked door leading back inside. "I still can't believe you married this loser." Rachel's voice was sharp, dripping with disdain. My blood turned to ice. Vanessa sighed, the sound heavy with exasperation. "Ugh, don't start." "Dad's right," Rachel pressed. "You need to divorce him before you have kids and get stuck forever." A beat of silence. Then the words that shattered me. "Already working on it?" Vanessa's voice was calm, cold. "My lawyer says we can take half of everything he has." The cigarette slipped from my fingers, embers scattering across the concrete floor. I stood there, numb. Half of everything. The house I'd bought before we even met, the investments I'd spent years building, the business I'd poured my soul into, and she was already working on it. The door creaked as I pushed it open. Vanessa and Rachel froze, their glasses of wine halfway to their lips. Their expressions flickered, first guilt, then defiance. Vanessa recovered first, forcing a smile. "Oh, Derek, we were just—" "Getting more wine?" I finished for her, my voice eerily calm. I held up the decanter. "Here you go." Rachel's face twisted into something ugly. "How long were you standing there?" I tilted my head just slightly and smiled. The same smile I used in boardrooms when I knew I had the upper hand. Long enough. The air in the room thickened. Rachel looked away, suddenly fascinated by her wine glass. Vanessa's grip on her glass tightened. "Derek, let's not—" "Dinner's ready," I interrupted smoothly, still smiling. "Shall we?" For a moment, no one moved. Then Vanessa plastered on her own smile, the one she used at parties when she wanted to pretend everything was fine. "Great, let's eat." The dining room was bathed in warm candlelight, the table set with our finest china. The beef bourguignon was tender, the soufflé perfectly risen, the wine expertly paired, and yet every bite tasted like ash. Vanessa's father, Richard, took a sip of wine and nodded approvingly. "Excellent vintage, Derek." "Thank you," I said, my voice steady. "I've been saving it for a special occasion." Vanessa's fork clinked against her plate. Rachel smirked. "So, Derek, how's the business?" The way she said it made it sound like a dirty word. I took a slow sip of wine. "Thriving, actually. We just secured another round of funding." Vanessa's mother, Carol, perked up. "That's wonderful. What's the valuation now?" "Enough that Vanessa won't have to worry about money," I said, locking eyes with my wife. "Ever again." Vanessa's smile faltered. Rachel leaned forward. "Unless, of course, something happens." The table went silent. I set my glass down with deliberate care. "Oh, like what?" Vanessa kicked Rachel under the table hard. Richard cleared his throat. "So, Mark, how's school?" The conversation limped forward, but the tension was suffocating. Every laugh felt forced, every smile a lie, and through it all I kept smiling, because now I had a plan. After dessert, a chocolate torte that no one really touched, Vanessa cornered me in the kitchen. "What the hell was that?" she hissed, her nails digging into my arm. I turned to face her, my expression blank. What was what? "You know what?" Her voice was low, furious. "You're acting weird." I leaned in close enough that my lips nearly brushed her ear. "Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about you." She recoiled. I straightened, wiping my hands on a dish towel. "I'll clean up. You go enjoy your family." For a second she just stared at me, her eyes searching mine for what? Guilt? Fear? But all she found was ice. She turned on her heel and stormed out. The second the last guest left, I locked myself in my office. My hands didn't shake as I dialed the number. A crisp voice answered. "Hartwell and Associates. Diana Hartwell, please. Tell her it's Derek Calloway." A pause. Then, "Mr. Calloway, what can I do for you?" I stared at the framed wedding photo on my desk, Vanessa in white, smiling like she meant it. "I need you to destroy my wife." The elevator doors slid open with a quiet ding, revealing the sleek, modern lobby of Hartwell and Associates. Polished marble floors reflected the dim, golden lighting, and the air smelled faintly of leather and expensive coffee. My dress shoes clicked against the floor as I approached the reception desk, my hands steady despite the storm raging inside me.
The receptionist, a poised woman in her 40s with a sharp bob, glanced up. "Good afternoon, sir. How can I help you?" "Derek Calloway. I have a 2:30 appointment with Diana Hartwell." Her fingers danced across the keyboard. "Ah, yes. Miss Hartwell is expecting you. Right this way, Mr. Calloway."
I followed her down a hallway lined with framed legal accolades and portraits of stern-faced partners. My reflection in the glass walls looked composed, controlled, but beneath the surface my pulse thrummed with quiet fury.
Half of everything. Vanessa's words played on a loop in my mind, each syllable a fresh cut. The receptionist stopped at a door with a brushed steel plaque. "Diana Hartwell, Family Law and Asset Protection." She knocked twice before opening it.
"Mr. Calloway is here. Send him in." The voice was crisp. No nonsense. I stepped inside.
Diana Hartwell sat behind a massive oak desk, her dark hair pulled into a tight bun, her navy blue suit immaculate. She didn't smile as she stood and extended her hand. "Mr. Calloway." "Diana." I shook her hand firmly. "Thank you for seeing me on short notice." She gestured to the chair across from her. "Sit. I've reviewed the preliminary documents you emailed, but before we proceed, I need to understand, emotionally, where you're at." I arched a brow. "Emotionally?" She leaned forward slightly. "Revenge divorces are messy. Clients make mistakes when they're angry. I need to know if you're here to win or just to hurt her." I held her gaze. "Can't it be both?" A flicker of something, approval, passed over her face before she schooled it back into neutrality. She tapped a manicured nail against the thick folder in front of her. "Then let's talk strategy." Diana flipped open the folder, revealing the prenuptial agreement I had signed 3 years ago. "This is solid," she said. "No shared assets acquired before marriage are eligible for division. Your business, Calloway Strategic Holdings, is explicitly listed as separate property. Vanessa's name isn't on any of the corporate documents, nor did she contribute financially to its growth." I nodded. "I made sure of that." "Good, because if she tries to argue she supported your career by being a spouse, it won't hold up. You have emails, texts, and financial records proving she had zero involvement." I exhaled slowly. "What about the house?" Diana turned a page. "You bought it before the marriage, but since you allowed her to live there, she might try to claim spousal interest. However," she pulled out another document. "Your mortgage payments came solely from your business account, not a joint one. That weakens her claim." A small victory, but I needed more. "What can I do to ensure she walks away with nothing?" Diana's lips curled slightly. "Now we're talking." She pulled out a legal pad and began scribbling notes. "First, we freeze all joint accounts. Not drain freeze. If you withdraw large sums, it looks suspicious. Instead, we file a fraud alert citing irregular activity. Banks will lock everything down pending investigation." I frowned. "Won't she just call and unfreeze them?" "Not if you report the fraud first." Diana's eyes gleamed. You're the primary account holder. Your word carries more weight. By the time she realizes what's happening, we'll have moved assets into protected trusts. I leaned forward. How fast can we do this? Within 48 hours, she paused. But you need to be ready for fallout. She'll panic. She'll call. She might even show up at your office. I smiled coldly. Let her. Diana studied me for a long moment before nodding. Second step, credit cards. Already on it, I said. She has 3 under my name. I can cancel them any time. No, don't cancel them. She steepled her fingers. If you revoke her access, she'll lawyer up immediately. Instead, lower the limits to a few $100s. Let her think she still has access until the moment she tries to use them. A slow, dark satisfaction settled in my chest. Psychological warfare, I murmured. Diana smirked. Exactly. Now your company. She pulled out a financial report. You've been smart keeping personal and business finances separate, but if she's as vindictive as you say, she might dig for anything to use against you. I clenched my jaw. Like what? Expense reports, client dinners, anything that could be misconstrued as improper. I scoffed. I've never so much as expensed a coffee without a receipt. Good. Then we audit everything now before she can twist it. Diana made another note. I'll have my forensic accountant go through your books. If there's even a whiff of something she could exploit, we'll document it preemptively. I nodded. What else? She hesitated. This next part is aggressive. Try me. Diana leaned in, her voice dropping. If you really want to ensure she can't touch a dime of your future earnings, we file for divorce first, but we do it quietly. I frowned. Meaning? We submit the paperwork, but we don't serve her, not yet. A calculated glint entered her eye. Once the divorce is filed, any income you earn after that date is untouchable. Even if the process takes months, she can't claim a cent of what you make moving forward.
A slow, icy realization settled over me. You're saying I could file today, let her think everything's fine, and by the time she finds out I've already protected my next 6 months of income? Diana nodded. And if you time it right, say, right before a major business deal closes, she'll never see a penny of it. For the first time since I'd heard Vanessa's betrayal, I felt something other than anger. Hope.
I sat back, absorbing it all. The plan was brutal, surgical, perfect. Diana watched me carefully. This won't be clean. She'll fight, she'll cry, she might even go public with sob stories. I met her gaze evenly. Let her... A beat of silence. Then Diana smiled, really smiled, for the first time since I'd walked in.
Then let's get started. She picked up the phone. Melissa, draft the divorce filing and pull the offshore trust documents. As she spoke, I glanced out the window at the city below. Somewhere out there, Vanessa was probably laughing with her sister, oblivious to what was coming. 6 days, that's all I needed. And then the real game would begin. I didn't sleep. The cigarette I'd dropped in the garage still haunted me, the way the embers had scattered, burning out one by one, just like my marriage. I sat at my home office desk, dawn barely breaking through the windows, staring at the financial spreadsheets glowing on my monitor. Numbers, cold, logical numbers. They didn't lie, they didn't betray, unlike Vanessa. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. I had spent years building my wealth, my security, and now she wanted to carve it in half like one of the steaks I'd grilled for her family last night. A bitter laugh escaped me. Not happening. I picked up my phone and dialed a number I hadn't used in years. Marcus answered on the second ring. Derek, it's 5:30 a.m. I need you, I said, voice rough from lack of sleep. Today. A pause, then, shit, you sound like you did after your dad died. I clenched my jaw. Worse. Marcus exhaled. Office 1 hour. Marcus's financial firm was sleek, all glass and steel, a fortress of order in a world that had just crumbled beneath me. His assistant ushered me straight into his private office, where he stood by the floor-to-ceiling windows, already suited up despite the early hour. He turned, took one look at me and whistled low. You look like hell. I feel like it, I admitted, dropping into the chair across from his desk. Marcus sat, folding his hands. Talk to me. I did. Every word tasted like poison, but I forced it out. Vanessa's betrayal, her sister's smug cruelty, the lawyer already circling like a vulture. When I finished, Marcus leaned back, rubbing his temples. Jesus Christ. Yeah. You're sure you heard her, right? Half of everything? I met his gaze. Word for word. Marcus exhaled sharply, then reached for his keyboard. Okay. First things first, we lock down every account she can touch. I nodded. I want her completely cut off. Legally, we have to be careful, Marcus warned. She's still your wife. If we move too aggressively... I don't care about aggressive, I interrupted. I care about untouchable. Marcus studied me for a long moment. Then a slow, calculating smile spread across his face. All right, let's play this smart. He turned his monitor toward me. First, we move the liquid assets slowly. Small transfers, nothing that triggers alarms. We route them through shell holdings, then into the offshore account you set up years ago. I nodded. What about the house? You bought it before the marriage, right? Yeah. Good, that's yours. But she could argue community funds were used for upgrades. I smirked. Good thing I kept receipts. Marcus grinned. You beautiful bastard. For the first time since last night, I felt something other than rage, control. I was halfway to my car when my phone rang. Vanessa. I let it go to voicemail. She called again and again. Finally, I answered. Derek, where the hell are you? Her voice was shrill, panicked. My card just got declined at the grocery store. I kept my tone calm. That's strange. Don't play dumb. Did you do something to the accounts? I could almost see her, perfectly manicured nails gripping her phone, that little vein in her forehead pulsing like it did when she was furious. I leaned against my car, savoring the moment. Why would I do that, Vanessa? A beat of silence. Then her voice dropped to a whisper. You heard us last night. I didn't answer. Derek, it wasn't... Rachel was just venting. I didn't mean... Save it, I said softly. We both know you meant every word. Another pause. Then her tone shifted, icy, controlled. You're making a mistake, I laughed. No, sweetheart, you did. I hung up. Back at my office, I pulled up the last piece of the puzzle, Vanessa's secret account. I'd suspected for months, unexplained withdrawals, odd transfers, but I'd ignored it, chalking it up to paranoia. Now I dug. And there it was, a hidden savings account funded with my money, slowly drained over the past 6 months. Her escape fund. Marcus whistled when I showed him. She was planning this for a while. I nodded, jaw tight. Enough to rent an apartment, maybe a lawyer retainer. Not anymore. With a few keystrokes, I initiated a fraud investigation on the account. By tomorrow, it would be frozen along with every other financial lifeline she had. Marcus watched me, then sighed. You sure you want to go nuclear? I met his gaze. She started this war. And you're going to end it? I smiled. Damn right. The first light of dawn crept through the blinds of my temporary apartment, painting the sterile walls in pale gold. I sat at the sleek glass dining table, my laptop open to a spreadsheet of frozen accounts, transferred assets, and legal countermeasures. The coffee in my mug had gone cold, but I barely noticed. My fingers hovered over the keyboard, pausing only when my phone lit up again. Vanessa, 5:47 a.m. Derek, answer me, now. I exhaled slowly, watching as another notification popped up. Vanessa, 5:49 a.m. What the hell did you do? My car just got declined at the gas station. A grim smile tugged at my lips. Good. I'd waited 6 days for this moment, 6 days of silence, 6 days of letting the legal and financial machinery I'd set in motion grind away beneath the surface. And now the first domino had fallen. The phone rang, her name flashing across the screen like a siren. I let it go to voicemail. She called again. And again. By 7 a.m., my screen was flooded with missed calls and texts, each one more desperate than the last. Vanessa, 7:03 a.m. Derek, please, I don't know what's happening. The bank said our accounts are frozen. The mortgage payment bounced. What did you do? I leaned back in my chair, rolling the tension from my shoulders. The apartment was quiet, save for the hum of the refrigerator and the occasional buzz of my phone. I had imagined this moment 1,000 times, how she would react when she realized the ground had been ripped out from under her. But hearing it, seeing it, was better than I dreamed. At 8:17 a.m., I finally answered, Derek! Her voice was raw, cracking on my name. Oh my God, where have you been? I've been calling you for hours. I've been busy, I said, my tone flat. A sharp inhale, then the first flicker of anger. Busy doing what? Freezing our accounts? Canceling my cards? What the hell is wrong with you? I let the silence stretch, savoring the way her breathing grew uneven on the other end. Derek, she said, softer now, fear creeping in. Talk to me, please. You first, I said. Tell me about your lawyer. Silence. I could practically hear her pulse racing through the phone. I don't know what you're talking about, she stammered. Really? I said, clicking open a file on my laptop. Because I have a recording of you telling Rachel that your lawyer said you could take half of everything I have. A choked gasp, then a whisper. You heard that? Every word? She made a sound, something between a sob and a curse. Derek, I didn't mean it. Rachel was pressuring me and I was frustrated. You were planning, I corrected. And now? Now you get to live with the consequences. You can't do this, her voice rose, trembling. You can't just cut me off from everything. That's our money, our house. Actually, I said coolly, it's mine. The prenup you signed makes that very clear. Prenups can be contested, she snapped. They can, I agreed, but they rarely succeed, especially when the judge hears you admitting to plotting this. A sharp, shaky breath, then the first real crack in her armor. What do you want? She whispered. I let the question hang in the air, watching as another text came through, this time from her father. Richard Kensington, 8:32 a.m. Call me now, I smirked. The cavalry arrives. I want you to understand something, Vanessa, I said slowly. You played this game. You just didn't realize I was better at it. She let out a broken noise. Derek, please. I hung up. By noon, my phone had become a war zone. Rachel, 12:15 p.m. You're a fucking monster. How dare you do this to her? Richard Kensington, 12:22 p.m. You're making a mistake, son. We can settle this like men. Vanessa, 12:30 p.m. Please, just tell me what you want. I'll do anything. I didn't respond. Instead, I forwarded Richard's message to Diana with a note. Add this to the file, more evidence of coercion. Her reply came instantly. Already on it. They're panicking. Perfect. I closed my laptop and stood, walking to the floor-to-ceiling window that overlooked the city. The sky was clear, the sun bright. Somewhere across town, Vanessa was realizing she had nothing, and I was just getting started. The first light of dawn crept through the blinds, painting thin gold stripes across the hardwood floor of my temporary apartment. I hadn't slept. Not last night, not the night before. My body was exhausted, but my mind was a live wire, crackling with a dangerous energy that refused to let me rest. I reached for the coffee maker, my movements mechanical. The rich, bitter aroma filled the small kitchenette, grounding me in the moment. The apartment was sleek, impersonal, a far cry from the home I'd built with Vanessa. Our home, or at least the one I'd bought, decorated and paid for, while she whispered sweet nothings in my ear and plotted behind my back. My phone buzzed again. The screen lit up with her name for what felt like the 100th time this morning. Vanessa, 6:17 a.m. Derek, please, we need to talk. I exhaled slowly, watching the steam rise from my mug. The urge to respond, to unleash the storm inside me, was almost overwhelming, but Diana's advice echoed in my head. Silence is your weapon now. Let her drown in uncertainty. So I took another sip, savoring the burn on my tongue. By 8:30 a.m., her texts had escalated from pleading to frantic. Vanessa, 8:03 a.m. I don't understand. The bank said the accounts are under investigation. Vanessa, 8:22 a.m. Derek, answer me. What the hell is going on? Vanessa, 8:45 a.m. My card just got declined at the damn coffee shop. Are you doing this? I smirked, scrolling through the messages without replying. Marcus had worked fast. By the time Vanessa woke up this morning, every joint account had been quietly drained, leaving just enough to avoid triggering immediate legal backlash. The automatic payments for her luxuries, her spa memberships, her boutique fitness classes, even the mortgage on our house had been paused, and she had no idea how deep the cuts would go. At 9:07 a.m., my phone rang. Not a text, a call. I let it go to voicemail. 3 minutes later, it rang again. This time I answered. Finally! Vanessa's voice was sharp with panic. Derek, what the hell is happening? I just got off the phone with the bank, and they said that the accounts are frozen. I finished smoothly, leaning back in my chair. A beat of silence. Then her breath hitched. You did this. I didn't deny it. Why? The word came out as a whisper, raw and wounded. I almost laughed. Wounded, after what she'd said, after what she'd planned. You know why, I said, my voice eerily calm. If this is about what Rachel said, it's not about Rachel, I cut in. It's about you. It's about what you said, what you planned. Another pause. I could practically hear her mind racing, scrambling for damage control. Derek, I didn't mean it like that, she said, her tone shifting to something softer, sweeter, the tone she used when she wanted something. I was just venting. You know how Rachel is. She gets in my head. I closed my eyes, gripping the phone tighter. Venting, that's what she called it. Venting? I repeated slowly. So when you told her you were already working on taking half of everything I have, that was just venting? Silence, then a quiet, shaky breath. You heard that? Every word. She didn't respond immediately. When she finally spoke, her voice was different, harder. So what? You're just going to freeze me out? That's your big plan? I smiled. No, Vanessa. Freezing you out is just the start. I hung up before she could reply. My hands didn't shake, my breath didn't hitch. The storm inside me had settled into something colder, sharper, a blade honed by betrayal. I pulled up my laptop and opened the file Diana had sent me. A list of assets, meticulously divided, the house, the cars, the investments, everything Vanessa thought she was entitled to, everything she would never touch again. A notification popped up on my screen, an email from Marcus. Subject, Phase 2. Ready. I clicked it open and read the first line. The business accounts are secured, she can't touch a dime. I exhaled, leaning back in my chair. Phase 2 began tomorrow. And Vanessa, she had no idea what was coming. The desperation sets in. By noon, her texts had turned frantic. Vanessa, 12:14 p.m. Derek, please, I can't even buy groceries. Vanessa, 12:30 p.m. You're really going to leave me with nothing. Vanessa, 1:05 p.m. Fine. If you want to play dirty, I'll call my lawyer. I smirked. Me, 1:06 p.m. Tell him to check his email. I pictured her face as she read my response, the confusion, the dawning horror as she realized I'd already outmaneuvered her. Diana had sent her lawyer the recordings this morning, the ones of Vanessa admitting her plans, the ones that would gut any chance she had in court. 3 minutes later, my phone lit up again. Vanessa, 1:09 p.m. You recorded me? I didn't answer. I didn't need to. The game had changed, and this time I was the one holding all the cards. The morning of the first legal confrontation dawned grey and heavy, the kind of weather that mirrored the storm brewing in my chest. I stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows of my temporary apartment, watching rain streak the glass like tears. My reflection stared back, a man carved from ice, his jaw set, his eyes devoid of warmth. Today the game begins in earnest. I dressed meticulously, a charcoal grey suit, a crisp white shirt, a tie the color of dried blood, armor for the battlefield. My fingers lingered on the cufflinks Vanessa had given me for our 3rd anniversary. To the man who has everything, she'd whispered, kissing my cheek. I dropped them into the trash. Hartwell and Associates, 9 a.m. Diana's office smelled of leather and ambition. She sat across from me, her sharp eyes scanning the documents in front of her. Vanessa's lawyer, Robert Kincaid, called again. He's very eager to talk. I swirled the bourbon in my glass, the amber liquid catching the light. How eager? Diana smirked. Desperate, he's offering a settlement. I leaned back, the leather chair creaking. Let me guess, she'll graciously let me keep my business if I hand over the house and a modest alimony? Diana's eyebrow arched, word for word. A humorless laugh escaped me. She always did have a flair for dramatic irony. The intercom buzzed. Mr. Kincaid on line 1. Diana glanced at me. Ready? I set my glass down. Oh, I've been ready. She hit the speakerphone. Kincaid's voice oozed false warmth. Diana, Derek, good morning. I think we can all agree this doesn't need to get ugly. I said nothing. He cleared his throat. Vanessa is willing to be reasonable. She'll waive any claim to your business assets in exchange for the house and a structured support payment. I let the silence stretch, savoring the way his breathing grew uneven. Then softly, no, a beat. Derek, be smart here. Litigation is expensive, time-consuming. Surely you'd rather avoid the spectacle. I leaned forward. Robert, let me be clear. Vanessa isn't getting a single cent she didn't earn. Not the house, not alimony, nothing. His tone hardened. We'll contest the prenup. Diana cut in, smooth as a blade. Go ahead. We have evidence of Vanessa's premeditated intent to defraud my client, including audio recordings. A sharp inhale. You're bluffing. I tapped my phone. Vanessa's voice filled the room, crystal clear. Already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half of everything he has. Dead silence. Then Kincaid strained. I'll need to consult with my client. I smiled. Take your time. But know this, if she drags this out, I'll make sure every judge, every financial institution, every mutual friend hears exactly what she said. Let's see how many bridges she has left when I'm done. The line went dead. Diana whistled. That might be the fastest I've ever seen a lawyer hang up. I stared at the phone. He'll call back. I didn't expect Vanessa to come herself. But there she was, storming into the cafe where I sat reviewing documents, her designer sunglasses doing little to hide the redness around her eyes. "You recorded me?" she hissed, slamming her hands on the table. I didn't flinch. "Sit down, Vanessa. You're making a scene." She dropped into the chair, her voice a venomous whisper. "How dare you? How dare I?" My grip on my coffee cup tightened. "You plotted to rob me blind, and you're shocked I fought back." Her lip trembled. "It wasn't like that. Rachel and Dad, they got in my head. I never wanted—" "Stop!" My voice cracked like a whip. "You don't get to rewrite history. I heard you, clearly." She crumpled then, her facade shattering. "What do you want, Derek? To humiliate me? To ruin me?" I studied her, the woman I'd loved, now a stranger. "I want you to feel what I felt in that garage. The betrayal, the helplessness." A tear slipped down her cheek. "I'm sorry." I stood, tossing cash on the table. "No, you're not. You're just sorry you got caught." Hartwell and Associates, 3:45 p.m., Kincaid called again. "We'll drop the alimony demand," he gritted out. "But the house—" "Is mine," I interrupted. "Bought before the marriage, protected by the prenup." A long pause, then quietly. "She'll fight you for it." I glanced at Diana, who nodded. "Then she'll lose, and when she does, I'll countersue for legal fees. Tell me, Robert, how much debt is Vanessa in without my income propping her up?" The silence was answer enough. My apartment, 11 p.m. My phone lit up with a call from an unknown number. I answered. Vanessa's voice was raw, broken. "Please, just tell me how to fix this." I watched the city lights flicker outside. "There's no fixing this, Vanessa." A shaky breath. "I loved you." I closed my eyes. "Maybe, but not enough." Then I hung up and blocked the number. The elevator doors slid open with a soft ding, and there she was, Vanessa. Her Louboutin heels, the ones I'd bought her last Christmas, clicked sharply against the marble floor of my office lobby. Her hair, usually sleek and perfect, had a slight frizz at the temples as if she'd been running her hands through it in frustration. Her makeup was still flawless, but her eyes were wild, desperate. My assistant, Lisa, shot me a nervous glance from her desk. "Mr. Calloway," she insisted. "It's fine, Lisa," I said, not looking away from Vanessa. "Hold my calls." Vanessa strode toward me, her designer purse swinging like a weapon at her side. The scent of her perfume, La Vie est Belle, the one I used to love, hit me like a wave of nostalgia, but I steeled myself.
"We need to talk," she said, her voice low and trembling. I leaned back in my chair, arms crossed. "You shouldn't be here." She slammed her hands on my desk, her nails manicured just yesterday, digging into the polished wood. "You're destroying me, Derek." I didn't flinch. "Funny, I was just thinking the same thing about you."
Her chest heaved, her breathing ragged. "The bank froze my cards. The mortgage payment bounced. My phone got shut off because you canceled the family plan. My family plan," I corrected coolly. "Just like it's my house, my money, my business." I tilted my head. "Or did you forget the prenup you signed?" Her face twisted. "You're being cruel." I laughed, a sharp, humorless sound. "Cruel? You were planning to take half of everything I've built and leave me with nothing. And you have the nerve to call me cruel?" She flinched, but didn't back down. "I made a mistake, okay? I was stressed. Rachel was in my ear. My dad kept pressuring me. And the lawyer," I cut in, my voice icy, "the one you were already working with to screw me over, was that Rachel's idea too?" Her lips parted, then pressed into a thin line. She had no defense for that. I stood, slowly buttoning my suit jacket. "You don't get to play the victim here, Vanessa. You planned this. You just didn't expect me to fight back." Her bravado cracked, her shoulders sagged, and for the first time since I'd known her, she looked small. "Derek, please," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I don't have anything left." I should have felt something, pity, remorse, anything, but all I felt was cold satisfaction. "You have your family," I said. "Go cry to Rachel. I'm sure she'll love hearing how your little plan backfired." Her eyes welled up. "What do you want from me?" I stepped closer, close enough to see the faint smudge of mascara under her lashes, close enough to smell the wine on her breath. She'd been drinking before coming here. "I want you to feel what I felt," I said softly. "I want you to lie awake at night wondering how everything slipped through your fingers. I want you to realize that you lost." A tear rolled down her cheek. "You never loved me." I smiled, the same empty, perfect smile I'd given her in the garage. "I did, once." Then I turned and walked away.
Lisa stared at me wide-eyed as I passed her desk. "Mr. Calloway, are you okay?" I didn't stop. Better than ever, because the game wasn't over yet, and Vanessa had just played right into my hands.
The courthouse loomed like a monolith of justice, its stone pillars casting long shadows in the pale morning light. I adjusted my tie in the reflection of the car window, my fingers steady despite the storm raging inside me. Today, she pays for everything. Diana met me at the steps, her sharp eyes scanning the file in her hands. "You ready for this?" I exhaled, watching my breath fog in the cold air. "More than ready," she smirked. "Good. Because in about an hour, Vanessa Hartwell Calloway is going to learn what happens when you play with fire." Inside, the courtroom was already buzzing. Vanessa sat at the defendant's table, flanked by her lawyer, a slick, silver-haired man who looked like he charged by the syllable. Her parents were in the front row, her father's face twisted in a permanent scowl. Rachel sat beside him, arms crossed, shooting daggers at me with her eyes. Vanessa turned, her gaze locking onto mine. For a second, just a second, I saw it, fear. I smiled, not the forced, polite smile I'd given her at dinner, not the cold smirk from the garage. This was the smile of a man who had already won. The judge entered, and the room fell silent. "Calloway versus Hartwell Calloway," the bailiff announced. "Petition for dissolution of marriage under the terms of the prenuptial agreement." Vanessa's lawyer, Mr. Ellison, stood first. "Your Honor, my client seeks an equitable division of marital assets, notwithstanding the prenuptial agreement which was signed under duress." "Duress?" I nearly laughed. Diana didn't miss a beat. "Your Honor, that's a bold claim from a woman who just 6 months ago was recorded conspiring to take half of everything my client owns." Ellison stiffened. "Your Honor, that recording was obtained illegally." "It was made in his own home," Diana countered smoothly. "No expectation of privacy in a shared garage, especially when discussing fraud." The judge's eyebrows lifted. "Fraud?" Diana slid a file across the table. "We have evidence that Mrs. Hartwell Calloway was actively working with her sister and father to manipulate my client into financial concessions before filing for divorce. That, Your Honor, is bad faith." Vanessa's face drained of color. Her father shot up from his seat. "That's a damn lie!" The judge slammed his gavel. "Sit down, Mr. Hartwell, or I'll have you removed." The room crackled with tension. Diana tapped a key on her laptop. Vanessa's voice filled the courtroom, crisp and clear. "Already working on it. My lawyer says we can take half of everything he has." A beat of silence. Then Rachel's voice. "God, finally. Dad's been saying for years you married down." Vanessa's sigh. "Yeah, well, I'm fixing it." The recording cut off. The silence was deafening. Vanessa's hands trembled. Her lawyer looked like he wanted to melt into the floor. Diana folded her arms. "Your Honor, this isn't just a breach of trust. It's premeditated financial exploitation. My client is prepared to testify that Mrs. Hartwell Calloway never intended to honor this marriage. She saw a successful man and thought, 'How much can I take?'" Ellison scrambled. "Your Honor, this is just venting. Spousal frustration." I finally spoke, my voice low but carrying. "Venting," I turned to Vanessa. "Were you venting when you told your sister you were working on taking half my money, or when you laughed about how your father always thought I was a loser?" Her lips parted, but no sound came out. The judge's voice was ice. "Mrs. Hartwell Calloway, did you or did you not make those statements?" Her breath hitched. Then in a whisper, "Yes." Her father slammed his fist on the bench. "God damn it, Vanessa!"
The judge didn't take long. Given the evidence of bad faith and the validity of the prenuptial agreement, the court rules as follows: no alimony, no division of premarital assets. The marital home purchased by Mr. Calloway prior to the marriage remains his sole property. Mrs. Hartwell Calloway is responsible for her own legal fees and outstanding debts. Vanessa made a sound like a wounded animal. Rachel stood furious. "This isn't fair!" The judge ignored her. "Court adjourned."
Outside, the cold air bit at my skin. Reporters swarmed. Somehow word had leaked. "Mr. Calloway, how does it feel to win?" I didn't answer. Vanessa stumbled out after me, her mascara smeared, her father gripping her arm like she was a disobedient child. She wrenched free and lunged at me. "You bastard!" I caught her wrist before she could claw at me. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her eyes wild. "Was this what you wanted?" she screamed. "To destroy me?" I leaned in, my voice barely above a whisper. "No, Vanessa, I just wanted you to lose the same way I would have." She crumpled. Her father yanked her away, snarling, "You'll regret this, Calloway." I straightened my jacket. "No, sir. The only one who regrets anything today is your daughter." As I walked away, I glanced back one final time. Vanessa was sobbing into her hands, her perfect life in ruins. Rachel looked terrified, like she was realizing for the first time that she'd underestimated me. And her father? He stared at me with pure, unadulterated hatred. I tipped my head in a mock salute. Then I turned and walked away. For good. A year later, my phone buzzed with an unknown number. Unknown. Derek. It's me. I need help. I stared at the message, then deleted it. Vanessa had moved back in with her parents. Rachel's marriage had collapsed under the weight of their family's disgrace. And me? I poured myself a glass of whiskey, toasting the sunset from the balcony of my new penthouse. The best revenge wasn't just winning, it was knowing they'd never recover.